Yes, well, here's a bit of optimism for the Conservative side of politics. There's a bright young man in the Senate that most probably not many people have heard of. There are political brains, I have to tell you, within the coalition in Canberra. They're just not in the leadership. As I mentioned yesterday, the union movement's up in arms over the fact that this grub, and he is a grub, this Ahmed Fahour, as I've said many times, a pretty ordinary individual. The former CEO of Australia Post received a $10.8 million pay packet in his final year, $8.7 million in bonuses. And the unions are saying that the Australia Post chairman, John Stanhope, should resign. Now, I don't know how Stanhope got the job in the first place, but I have to say he wasn't the chairman when this deal with Fahour was negotiated. But in his period as CEO, this Fahour has earned almost $34 million in salary and bonuses. And as the unions are saying, he gets $10.8 million for slashing postal services of all Australians. Once upon a time, we had a postal service twice a day and every Saturday. Now the employees of Australia Post are members of the Communications Workers Union, and they receive less than the CPI pay increase. This is obscene. All the Turnbull government, that's the leadership, can say is, oh, this can't happen. Stanhope, as I said, wasn't chairman of the board when this was done in 2010. He only became chairman in November 2012. But back to this smart young Victorian Liberal. His name's James Paterson. He's a senator. I wish he weren't. He should be in the House of Representatives. But this is the sadness about this coalition government, which is going out the door at a rate of knots, handing the keys to Shorten. There are some very, very bright people down there. Christian Porter we talked to, Angus Taylor, Tim Wilson, there's a stack of them, and this young man's one of them, James Paterson. He's only 29. Before he went into Parliament, he was part of the outstanding Institute of Public Affairs. He was the editor of their review publication. He finished up Deputy Executive Director of the IPA. As I said, he's only 29. But in March last year, he was nominated to fill the casual vacancy in the Senate caused by the resignation of Michael Ronaldson. He's currently the youngest member of the federal parliament. He's the youngest ever Liberal senator. And he's already the chairman of the Senate Finance and Public Administration Legislation Committee. And pleasingly, the deputy chairman of the Modest Members Society, which is a group of coalition MPs dedicated to economic freedom, something that Scott Morrison and Malcolm Turnbull and Gladys Berejiklian and others seem to have forgotten. This young man's had something to say about this Fahour and his pay. I just thought we'd have a quick word with him, because, as they say, the horse has bolted. But he used the word scandalous, that the directors of Australia Post thought it would be okay to keep this Fahour's salary secret. He's on the line. James Paterson, good morning.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Alan.
Thank you very much for being on the program. Congratulations, you're doing a wonderful job. This is sickening, isn't it? $10.7 million to this bloke.
It absolutely is, and as I said, Alan, even more sickening that they thought it would be okay to keep this secret from the Australian public.
Yeah, I mean, the concern of all of this is that in the 6 months to December 2015, Fahour presided over an Australia Post outfit where net profit fell 84%. Stamps are now $1. He said the letter business would never make any money. Now, he was made CEO in 2009. Since then, he's apparently earned in 8 years $34 million. $34 million. And when you look at the experience overseas in all of this, the head of the US Postal Service is in charge of 19 times more staff than Fahour, 11 times more revenue, and he's on $550,000 a year. Fahour on $5 million. Work that out, James.
That's right, Alan, and most of the international CEOs of government-run businesses like Australia Post are on similar kinds of salary, running much larger businesses.
Yeah.
And the kind of money that Ahmed Fahour got out of Australia Post over his 8 years there is the kind of money that a CEO of a major bank gets out of their time. And for all of our criticism of the banks, and some of it's justified, they're running much more profitable enterprises than Australia Post.
Yes, I mean, you've got the head of the equivalent post office in France, staff of 268,000 employees. He's on $1 million. Fahour was on $5 million. The top public servant in Canberra earns no more than 800,000. Fahour on $5 million. The Prime Minister of Australia gets 507,000. Fahour on $5 million, and his last year he got with bonuses nearly 11 million. Is all that we can do say it's obscene? Why can't we take some of the dough back? I understand this bloke's now angling for the job to replace Ian Narev on the Commonwealth Bank.
That would be, I guess, a pretty bold call by the CBA board, so let's wait and see how they go with that. But the truth is, Alan, Australia Post did enter into a legal contract with Ahmed Fahour, and they were obliged to honour it, unfortunately. But they will now, thankfully, never ever do this again for two reasons. One, the government has said, for starters, you will have to disclose the pay of the CEO, and that's appropriate. And second, the government has put the Remuneration Tribunal in charge of setting the Australia Post CEO's salary. So that's the same body that sets the pay of politicians or judges.
But the bloke's not done with yet. He's going to get another $3 million as part of Australia Post's superannuation scheme when he turns 60. Not over yet.
That's right, and I think most Australians, and certainly most posties, would be very jealous of that kind of retirement.
Well, you can understand the union movement being angry, can't you?
You absolutely can.
Good on you. Hey, Liz, you keep at it. Keep firing some shots down there in the cause of economic freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of association, the whole box and dice. Try and turn this Liberal ship around if you could, James. Great to talk to you. When are you 30?
November.
November, there you are. Well, happy birthday for November.
Thanks,
You're a youngster. Very bright young man, a lovely fellow. The new Victorian Liberal Senator, James Paterson.